name's Tom Place. A lot of patients call me Grandpa Tom. I'm 59 years old. I was diagnosed with HIV back in 2002. Okay. 2007, my HIV status turned to AIDS, and I lost a kidney back in 1970, so I have one kidney, and I'm doing great. You know, I wasn't before when I was on so many pills, but now I am. And my alternative goal is, you got to remember, when you're talking, the majority of the people that need cannabis are the elderly, okay? And we're on a fixed income. Most of us are living on around $850 a month. And by the time you pay your utilities and your house and put a little food on your table, you ain't got no money. And my ultimate goal is to be able to address people's issues for around $90 a month. You know, and if you look at a pharmaceutical industry, you're going to do 5 to 10 times that, okay, on a month, and that's a monthly regimen, okay, so that's pretty cheap to use as a tincture. You know, there's no other products out there. If you go to the Ricky Simpson oil, it's going to cost you $1,000 a month to use that, okay, and if you smoke cannabis, you're going to do 1.5 ounces, 2 ounces a month smoking cannabis, and that's still going to cost you about $800 to $400. When I was 16 years old, I was playing football at Eisenhower High School in Rialto. I got hurt playing football, and I lost my left kidney, tore my left ligaments out, and had a concussion. I've had on and off medical problems early on. You know, I was in a coma 9 days with losing my kidney back then. They took 3 major operations, and my body was shutting down. I was in a coma 9 days, and my body fought the rap that they were trying to use. 1970. Not to that point. I was actually wanting to play football, and my dad was an alcoholic, and my mom was codependent on that, and she had rheumatoid arthritis most of her life, and she was on Vicodin. Oh, back then it was Dorvon, and she died of liver cancer from her rheumatoid arthritis. 23 years with Dorvon. They had her on Oxycontin and Vicodin, you know, and what happened was, over the 23 years she ended up with diabetes and hepatitis and liver cancer, you know, and it was all because of her pain pills. It helped with the pain, but for a while, but then she got addicted to the opiates in it. Yeah, well, you're shortening your life, that's for sure. Her life would have been longer without it, without the pills, and yeah, if she would have addressed it more organically. You know, back then we didn't know that this was real medicine. No, when I'm an AIDS patient too. Okay, over the course of my life, I'd get hurt playing, you know, riding a dune buggy, and I dislocated my shoulder. I broke my leg on a bicycle. When I went to the hospital, they filled me full of morphine, and it spiked my drug addiction over a period of the years and everything. I ended up with HIV. And when my HIV status turned to AIDS, and that was over a period of 4 months. I was 48 when I was had HIV, and I was 52 when I turned to AIDS, stage 3 AIDS, and then with the AIDS virus, they gave me all my HIV meds. I take one pill a day now, okay, and my one pill is around $24,000 a year. Yeah, and I've been taking the same pill for almost 6 years now. What it does, it stabilizes my viral load, okay, which I had like 400,000 copies of the HIV/AIDS virus, and at one point, and my CD4 count was 127, which was stage 3 AIDS. The CD4 is your is part of your immune system, your blood cells. What's happening when you turn to age, your red cells fight your white cells and knock your white cells down. And then you don't have any immunity to you. Most definitely. And with our HIV meds, they used to be old cancer drugs, okay, and they were only designed to be on them a few months. Well, you got to remember, it can mutate. Okay, say that there's like 5 people that have HIV. Okay, each person might have a different strand. If you have sex or if you share needles with them, then you mutate that strand to a different level, and then you have a super virus like SARS. Okay.
Wow.
And that's out of control. And that's basically up in New York, you know. But my problem was to make my HIV meds compatible. They gave me 27 pills for all the adverse side effects. I was taking 9 pills for my HIV, okay, 3 times a day, and then I was taking a psych med, and then an antihistamine, then I was taking a pain pill, okay, and then I was taking a Valium to calm me down because I was all hyped up from my psych meds, okay, and then I was taking a sleeping pill. I was taking 9,800 pills in 1 year, okay.
So you were a walking zombie.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, and my body was shutting down. At the end of the year, they told me they needed to put me on kidney dialysis because I have 1 kidney. Okay.
Right.
And that's when I decided to draw my line. Okay, I took 27 pills off my plate. Okay, went down, got my medical marijuana card, went back and disrupted the AIDS projects. Okay. Because they're federally funded, okay, so they will not let you talk about medical marijuana at all. Oh, their main goal is to assign you the HIV meds and assign you all the pills, because you got to remember, they're getting paid by the Ryan White program, and they're also get paid through the pharmacy and all that for, you know.
There's a lot of hands in the pot.
Yeah, and so you got to remember, so your AIDS projects are actually an advocate over in Washington for the pharmaceutical industry. And I don't know how in the heck they think you're going to live on that many pills, okay? And there's people that's done this for 35 years, but their bones are all deteriorated, their liver's all shot out. They have diabetes, they have low self-esteem, they have mental health issues and everything. And that's where I was within 1 year. I was bipolar depressed. I went into a store and I would argue at a person in a drop of a hat.
For no reason.
I was shaking real bad. I was gray ashing. I had this big fat belly. I was sucked up. I lost like 25, 30 pounds. And I gained about maybe 10 inches around my waist. My muscles were contracting. I couldn't hold my hands straight up. I was shaking. My eyes were orange. I had tumors on my face and everything.
So it was all toxic to your system, basically.
Oh yeah.
And how is that medicine?
That's what I was a stage 3 AIDS patient going to a support group at a federal funded AIDS project, and you had to be stage 3, stage 4 with other circumstances. So you had to be their cash cow. Okay, you had to have either cancer or my case was I had cancer, I was bipolar, okay, I had a lot of anger issues at the time, I had seizures, okay, and all that, and then I had my kidney shutting down, okay, and then I had skin cancer. Let's look at the science of what we know, okay? Let's look at our body, okay? We have cannabinoids, endocannabinoid system. We have a CB1 receptor, which is in our brain, okay? And then we have a CB2 receptor, which is in the back of our neck. But the CB2 receptor is part of your immune system, okay? Your CB1 receptor is part of your brain, okay? If you look at the cannabinoids of the plant, the CBDs in the plant, okay, they'll match the cannabinoids in your brain, and they'll feed the CB1 and CB2 receptors, okay. With the THC now, that will help you manage your pain, okay. So, and then if you look at the tetracycline cannabinoid acid, which is the natural part of the plant before we add any heat to it, that's non-psychoactive. Okay, that tetracycline cannabinoid acid, people refer to as THCA, is an antioxidant. Okay, when you put it under, and this is the first tincture I made was the THCA, and you got to remember my kidney was shutting down. I was at 18% on my GFR, which is my kidney function. My creatine, okay, which is was supposed to be a 1.73, which put me around 55-ish, 52-ish, right in there, was at 1.75, which put me around 75 years old. And I was 52, because you got to remember the HIV ages you prematurely. Okay, it shuts down your immune system. Okay, it gives you mental health issues because it is tearing down the cannabinoids in your body. They're allowing plaque to build up and all that. And another thing is our HIV meds are high in cholesterol, okay? So they'll help build the aging plaque and the aging plaque of the brain. But if you look at, just go to Project CBD, okay? Martin Lee explains what the CBDs do to the aging plaque of the brain, the cardiovascular plaque, and it brings the inflammation down on your tumors, okay, and it interrupts the cancer cells, okay. So, man, when I started reading all that, I had to do the extraction, and look at my face, my God. I was barking at people. Totally impossible, you know. I was having many seizures as I talked. I had to share this. In 2010, I started my own support group because I couldn't get the AIDS project. So I walked away from them. I disassociated myself. I went down and I told Lanny, I said, look, Lanny, I'm undetectable today for the first time. Okay, I had 400,000 copies of my virus. Okay, my viral load was 400,000 copies. Okay?
Is that parts per million or something?
Parts per million, yeah.
Okay.
So that makes me a very sick camper, and that makes me very contagious. Okay. By taking the 27 pills off my plate, concentrating on my HIV meds, and then concentrating on the THCA underneath my tongue, my GFR went from 18% to 60%, so I started urinating. That helped my kidney, and it also got rid of all of my contaminants, because I'm starting to pee now. I was almost into diabetes, okay? And then with my kidney started functioning, my glucose, I started exercising because I started feeling better. I started riding my bicycle. I was able to eat better. Okay, so I did it 4 times a day, and I did it to a point, well, if this makes me feel okay, then this got to make me feel a little better. So I did a little more. Back then, my product was a little weaker than what it is now. I met Dr. Reber, and I've been making it for about 2.5 years already, and I was already undetectable. I had a T cell count over 600. It was under 50. Now they're having a hard time identifying my HIV status altogether. Well, they haven't been able to, and you got to remember, this lab has been used in my lab work for 7 years, and they cannot confirm or deny that I have HIV.
Really?
Yeah. So this next test that they're doing on me, they're doing an HIV quantitation test and an HIV absolution test, okay? And between those 2 tests, and I've talked to a lot of professors at the universities because of where we go and stuff, and they told me that they're breaking down the DNA of the HIV, if they can find it, because they haven't been able to find it, and they're breaking down your DNA because they think that I triggered my G5 gene, which is my own anonymity to the virus, and if it happens this August, they're going to take me off my HIV meds. So now I took myself off 27 pills instead of 26. Right now is 925. I have 87% of my T cells back. My white cells is at 9.8, which is 10.9 is super healthy. Let me explain something, okay? At the University of Louisiana, Dr. Patricia Molina, I got a story about her. Okay, she has these HIV monkeys. Okay, they're called SIV monkeys. It's the same thing as HIV, but this is in the
yeah, it's not human. It's
right. Okay, she had the 2 sets of cages, and she gave the antiviral medication to these monkeys over here, and that's it.
the control group.
The control group, and then she gave cannabis to this group over here through their diet and through their water and stuff. So she must have been making some sort of tincture.
Right.
Okay.
The glycerin, water soluble.
These monkeys over here, she said, for the first 3 days, laid down, they were disorientated and everything, and then after 3 days they were playing like they'd never even had the HIV, and they outlived the other monkeys 3 times.
3 times longer.
3 times longer, and the other monkeys would get to the point where I was sucked up and just wanted to lay down and die. And then you have a study at the University of Philadelphia and the University of Pennsylvania that has 2 other studies at universities that they introduced on a live tissue test, the cannabis, and it killed the HIV in live tissue. They also said that they cannot use cannabis to treat AIDS patients, or they cannot research it because it's a Schedule 1 drug.
Right.
There's 1.8 million people in the United States that have HIV/AIDS. Okay.
Wow.
And you look at there's like, what my last time that I looked at it, half the people were in treatment were in renal failure. So now you take, or not half, but 18% of those people. And you're not even talking about the diabetes that they're fighting and the hepatitis, okay? And the cancer, because our long-term side effects of our medication produces cancer.
Right.
So now, I'm only taking 1 pill a day, which is costing about a little over $80 a day, okay, for 1 pill. And if I can get rid of that this August, then my goal will be accomplished.
Wow.
I don't want to live on pills the rest of my life.
Yeah, I understand.
Okay, but I do need to take, and I do take them regularly, because what happens is if you miss 1 day, you got to look at it like a manhole. You got it suppressed down. Okay.
Right.
And if you miss 1 day, you let up on the manhole, and
all kinds of stuff comes
this little
out.
virus starts clinging
Right.
around.
It starts flourishing again.
But I believe that the cannabis, okay, looking at those 3 studies, looking at my experience, I believe that the cannabis And the HIV might be allergic to the cannabis, and it chased it out of those monkeys because they're undetectable too, and they never even had any SIV medication.
Right.
And so when is our government really going to pay attention to the little people like myself? And I wrote President Obama a letter explaining my situation, my drug problems over the last 30-some years, and my life with the HIV and the pills and everything, and my kidney failure, and all the pills that was on that I got rid of, and now I'm only seeing. Now you got to remember when 2008, I was seeing 3 doctors every month, okay, plus a psychiatrist. Now I'm only seeing 1 doctor twice a year, and the people in my support group are doing the same thing. Brian, my friend that's helping me make the tincture, he's an AIDS patient with cancer. He's seeing his doctor twice a year. I have Scott, which is a leukemia patient.
So it's not just you that this is working with?
No, that's what I'm saying. And then I have Don Dolan, which is an Agent Orange patient, okay, which had brain tumors. He came to me back in March of 2013 with headaches, and that's all he wanted to do is alleviate his headaches.
Right.
Well, he came to me when we was just started making the CBDs, okay, and I gave him some CBD tinctures, okay, by, that was in March. By May, okay, his glaucoma was down to normal. It was 300 over 180. They wanted to amputate his eye if it went over 300. Okay, so he was borderline on the amputation on it. His skin cell tumor, or his brain tumor, okay, was every few years they did some chemo on it to bring it down, and it'd grow 2 to 4 centimeters in about 3 years.
Right.
It slowed it down in March, okay. August, it stopped growing, okay, and then by November it detached itself, and now they gave him some open heart surgery because he needed some repair on his valve, where he wasn't able to get that kind of surgery because he was too weak.
Right.
And now he made it through the surgery, and he's due to come back on. I talked to him last week, and he's ready to come back to our support group.
Wow.
You know, and everything, you know. And you know, that's an Agent Orange patient that fought for us in Vietnam, okay? And he's one of the last of the Agent Orange patients, and these people have problems that we would never even, suffering worse than I have.
Wow.
Okay, I believe that this man has been suffering over the last 30 years worse than I have. Okay, and my suffering ended in 18 months. Okay, I pinched it in the butt. If I have any problems, like my rheumatoid arthritis starts kicking a little harder, I do a little more tincture. It puts it back into remission and everything. Yeah, they're using number 3 skunk bud, okay, and they have 33 sites here in the United States because.
Is that a high CBD strain?
Not really. It's more of a THC strain, but it does have some CBD benefits to it, I believe.
Like 1%, 2%?
Yeah, yeah. But what they're doing, they're taking and breaking it down to the Ricky Simpson oil, which is the canna oil.
Right.
And then they're infusing they take and evap the alcohol out, and then re-infusing it back into some hemp oil. It's bad on our liver, and not only that, you got to remember a lot of people with HIV have substance abuse problems. Okay.
Okay.
And substance abuse could be spiked with the alcohol. It could be, and that's why a lot of the AIDS projects are on that banner that, oh, you can't give an AIDS patient marijuana because it'll interrupt with their substance abuse. Well, I'm sorry. If you give them a Vicodin or morphine, you're giving them a derivative opiate, okay? And an opiate's heroin. So if you have a heroin addict that's getting that kind of a product, he's going to abuse it. And then you have the Seroquel, okay? Seroquel, okay. The patients take it for pain, okay? They put it out in 25 millimeters. They tell you to take 4 tablets, that's 100 millimeters. If that don't work, take 4 more. If that don't work, don't take over 12 because you're at 300 milligrams.
And
okay?
you're going to
And then
toxify your system.
And then if you got dementia, and then you got this kind of pain. Now, let me explain something, okay? AIDS dementia is one of the very few dementias that are treatable, okay? That they know is treatable, okay?
And why is that?
It's got a lot to do with our medications and stuff.
Okay.
So they can switch our medications out. And,
so it's the medicine, but induces the plaque buildup.
Right. So
cocktail.
Yeah, it's all in our cocktail. You know, a lot of our if you, and then you have the restriction of the oxygen to the blood and stuff, and that helps. That brings the dementia down. Now, certain patients that have dementia could be stricken by low oxygen in your blood or a lot of cholesterol buildup. Okay, if you have the aging plaque of the brain, if you go to, like I said, if you go to www.projectcbd.com, Martin Lee's got a whole website that, I mean, it's great to understand the dementia, the Alzheimer's, the MS, and cancer and stuff, what the CBDs does. Yeah, I've been smoking cannabis most of my life. Under the tongue, okay? Because for one thing, a lot of our problems is in our digestive tract and in our kidneys and our liver and in our thyroids and our saliva glands and all that, okay? And by putting it into the blood, it addresses all that. For one thing, when you do it this way, you're not burning off the CBGs and the CBVs and the CBNs and all the other. There's like we identified 11 deltas, okay?
Okay.
There's like 150 of them we haven't even identified yet.
In the plant.
In the plant, okay? And when you burn all that off, all you're doing is concentrating on one thing, the THC. Sure, you get some benefits on pain relief and stuff, but I believe you're not going to get the total benefit God intended by ingesting it under the tongue. I would rather put the flower. There's nobody that's ever overdosed with cannabis, and the reason why is you have to ingest 144 pounds in 15 minutes. Either any way you can get it in you, there's no way you're
There's
gonna
no way.
there's no way you're
There's
gonna
no
get
way.
that. So it's got to be the safest way to address anything. They call me Grandpa Tom. My product says Grandpa Tom's Tinctures. I have 8 grandkids. Okay, my oldest grandkid's 12 years old, but I know when she's my oldest grandkid's just now starting middle school. Okay, when you go to middle school, all the kids learn substance abuse at about that age.
Right.
Okay, and the most vulnerable target is our medicine cabinet.
You think?
For these kids,
It's
yeah.
not the guy down at the end of the street that sells coke and meth and all the other
The
stuff?
first pills that I ever took that got me started on anything was my pain pills when they took me out my kidney, okay? And my friends, they would come, I was real popular because I had Dorvons. They loved to pop the Dorvons. We were popping LSD back in that day, and mescaline, cannabinol, and PCP, but it all started right there. My doctor stuck some opium in my arm, okay, put me in a rubber room for 3 days, did some, tests on my kidney, did some images, and to see how bad it was, and to see what.
And you were 16.
I was 16. Okay.
And that was your introduction
to... That was my
to...
very first high. That was before they gave me any pain pills, anything. They put me 1,000 cc's of opium.
Wow.
Okay? Which turned my whole insides purple, put me in a rubber room. Well, the second time, I was telling my friends, man, I had such a good time by myself. I want them to come and get, because they did it 3 times, okay? I wanted them to come bust me out. The hospital, they did. Okay, and I ended up back in the hospital, within a few hours. I couldn't handle it. There's a lot of people with ADHD, and there's a lot of people with this mental health issues. There's a lot of people killing people and stuff like that.
Post-traumatic stress disorder.
Post-traumatic stress disorder, but the main thing is, look, marijuana was legal back in 1860 to 1937. Okay, the type of products that I make, okay, was on the shelves at the pharmacy.
In the Victorian pharmacies.
Okay, back then.
Merck
okay?
and Sons.
Nobody ever died from them.
Right.
Okay, now you got 80 years of this pharmaceutical modern medicine, and look at what's happening. You have ADHD. Okay, with these kids that are being born with ADHD. Where do you think they got it? Do you
Right.
think they might have got it from the, if I can mutate with the cannabis, with what I mutated,
Right.
just think what you can mutate with all the pain pills that these people...
Over the years.
Over the years.
Through the generations.
Through the generations. And then you got our food, okay, with all the pesticides, the herbicides.
Now, and then the genetic engineering.
Now you have kids that are being born with cancer, and then you have people that have leukemia. Okay, leukemia is a man-made disease, and I believe. Have you ever watched that movie Knives and Forks?
No.
The processing of the food. You can't. Okay, if you walk down the store, okay, and you want to buy a can of beans,
Read the label.
Read the label, and you're going to see 7 to 14 to 21 grams of sugar. All your canned foods have sugar, have preservatives, sugar in it, and all that. And then you go over to the fresh vegetables that we got there. You have pesticides that they used and stuff. The soil's been depleted. You have the pesticides are in the soil, so now they're growing into the water tables. Okay, now you have all these pills that people are taking that don't take them, and they're throwing them into where? The toilet? So if we're going to take back this plant, this is how we do it.
With a natural plant.
With the natural organic extractions, okay? And let the plant do our thinking for us, okay? All we need to know, okay, is that we need a little CBD or a little THC or a little THCA, and take your if you have medication that you need, read your label, and there's two ways that you can tell. You have the ones that are as needed. You can get rid of those. But you have the ones that are as directed. You want to make those as compatible as you can. And that's what the tinctures did for me, and that's what the tinctures did for the people in my support group. I got like 65 people in my group, okay? And each and every one of us had extreme circumstances, and we're all doing a lot better, okay? There's people, once in a while I run across it, or it's been traumatized by their moms with this cough syrup or the stuff like that, and they get this reaction, but it's pretty pleasant. It's organic. It's all organic. It's glycerin is a high-grade vegetable oil.
So you don't use alcohol?
I don't use no alcohol. I use a high-grade vegetable. Now we're doing CO2 extractions, which we turn it into a can of oil, and then we put it into glycerin.
And you have a lab doing large volumes for you?
Now I do, yeah. And then I have we do it with the grapeseed oil. And the glycerin is diabetic friendly. When you go to Martin Lee's Project CBD, okay, they'll explain what it does. It lowers blood sugar. Okay, so if you're on some kind of insulin or something like that, you want to be careful, because I've had 3 people that are diabetics, and when we first come out with it, well, they ended up at the hospital in a diabetic coma. They brought them back and all that, thank God. But we learned that then they went to their doctor, and now a couple of them are not even taking their diabetic medication. One lady has to take a number 2, where she was taking, I don't know what she was taking before, but they dropped her all the way down to 2, and if she needs it. You got to remember, if a doctor directs you to take a medication, you should always talk to the doctor before you release it, before you get yourself off of it. But if you have a medication that's given to you by a doctor that says as needed,
a comfort medication.
That's a comfort medication. That medication, you get rid of it.
Really?
Really, because what's happening is, over a period of years and stuff and like that, it's going to build up into your bloodstream, just like the cannabis.
And it's going to toxify you.
But it's going to toxify you, where the cannabis is going to purify you. Well, you can make a salad dressing out of it. You can infuse it in olive oil.
And it won't get you high.
And it won't get you high.
But it will get you healthy.
It'll get you healthy. Okay. I would stay away from the butters and the cookies and the. And
oh, you're just asking for heart disease.
Well,
with
yeah,
all
because
the butter.
yeah, because
Yeah.
if you have high cholesterol and you're taking a high cholesterol medication anyway, you know, like our HIV meds, and then you're eating brownies because you have a lower backache because you have lower backaches.
Right.
You know, and the brownies are going to take care of your lower backache, but then when you go to see your doctor, the doctor's going to say, hey, your cholesterol is getting out of whack. There are a few people that send their stuff out like I do and have it laboratory tested, and you got to remember, I have an autoimmune deficiency syndrome. Okay, when you're growing your plant out there, some people use herbicides. Okay,
right.
Or they should use an organic one.
Right.
You should never
like neem oil.
Like neem oil, right? And then you also
they're using the wrong fertilizers too.
Yeah, you have mold, you have mildew, and then you have that yeast that could be built up in it. And when you do a cold extraction, okay, a hot extraction will burn a lot of that off.
Okay.
But a cold extraction
might not.
Might not. And when I send my stuff out to have it tested, I have it tested for not only the THC, the THCA, the CBDs, the CBDA, the CBVs, the Gs, and the CBNs. I also have it tested for pesticides. I have it tested for the mold and mildew and the yeast. It has to have at least 8.5% THC or CBD to make a good extraction with CO2. Okay. Where Brian and I, we was taking about 4%, 5% THC and CBD plants, and we do the old-fashioned style extraction. But we use a lot of cannabis and a lot less glycerin. Okay, and then it builds the strength of it. It is an extraction. That's a gray area, okay, because you got to remember, your tinctures are what I'm doing is a derivative of Marinol. 1-Delta, where we have, back when I started making it, we identified 9, now we have 11. Marinol, you have to keep it at 2.5% THC level, okay? And that's basically, I keep most of my stuff around 2.5 when I was making it. When smoking's not enough, might as well start tinking. First of all, I have Pacific strains that I use. Okay, I use the Pacific strains for the CBDs and for the THC. I send it out and have it tested for the impurities and the strength levels. When Brian and I was making it ourselves, we'd make it and send the finished product out and have it retested again, and you know, to make sure it's strong enough or weak enough, because but anyway, and make sure there's no impurities in it. Now I have there were a commercially certified laboratory that I've been using since 2010. Okay, so I've been with them probably as long or longer than any other clients, especially with the tinctures. But now they're a certified approved laboratory, and I'm having it made with the CO2 extraction, and then I'm having the CO2 wax to adhere it a little stronger than after we fuse it. They're a commercially certified laboratory, so they have to be approved by our federal government. I've heard some people tell me that they buy $1,000 because you got to remember, it's got a lot to do with your body weight too. I have people that are buying or using 3 bottles a month. Okay, the collectives sell them at $30, you know, a bottle. So, you know, it's right at $90. You know, and that's where, you know, And you gotta remember, it takes a lot off your pharmaceutical bill too, so, you know, and I wouldn't be here talking to you today if it wasn't for the tincture, I know. I wouldn't be here at all. Oh yeah, I have a lot of testimonies already, and if you go to grandpatomstinctures.com, we're working on the website. It's been up and running about a week now, and there's so much more we're going to be putting on it. So. Well, I like to see it taken off a Schedule I drug.
That's a good priority. Yeah.
Right there. That way we can have research and development on other products. Okay. And Medi-Cal.
Yeah. Medi-Cal should.
Okay. Look.
Right.
And this is another thing that, okay, you have Obamacare, okay, which is a preventative care, okay?
Right.
If you listen to what I said a little while ago, I was seeing 3 doctors every month, plus a psychiatrist. That's 4 doctors, and now I'm seeing 1 doctor twice a year.
It's a no-brainer.
$355 for 15 minutes is what they charge, okay? And then if you look at my HIV lab work that they have to do on me, that's $2,500.
How many times a month or a year?
Twice a year now. Where they
But
were
it
doing
used to be
every month.
3 months or so.
Wow.
And then it went to 3 months, and now it's 6 months, and I'm blessed.
So cannabis can be a cost savings to the healthcare industry.
Yeah. Think of all the pills. I took 26 pills off my plate. Okay?
In the suffering.
End of suffering. Okay? I have 8 grandkids that I enjoy tremendously. I take them out on bicycle rides. Recreational, you know, it will save people's lives and stuff, I believe, because they won't be drinking as much, there won't be many accidents. I understand that by just the legalization of the medical marijuana, okay, would reduce the drug or drinking accidents by 16%. That's a significant savings there. And by the recreational use, it should bring the medical use down, okay, because, you know, they should charge a little more if you want to get high recreationally and tax it and everything. And then with the taxation, then we have programs are like my support group and stuff, okay? We teach people, once you're feeling good, okay, on how to eat properly, okay, with the vegetables, and get rid of the processed food and stuff like that, and then do a little exercise. And then it's always nice to have people alongside you that are healing alongside you, because then it magnifies the healing a little bit more. Yeah, I would rather, okay, look, this is a self-healing medical marijuana program. Why would you want to give it to the tobacco industry and to the pharmacies where they can capitalize on it? And not only that, when you have patients growing their own medication, okay, and teaching them how to process it properly, okay, you're actually teaching them how to fish instead of feeding them every day. Pay it forward by helping another patient that was in the same circumstances they were in to achieve where they're at in the level of health, okay? And that's when the world is going to find a little more peace and tranquility, because the meek is going to start inheriting the earth. So what I would like to see is these senior citizens communities, like these mobile home parks and stuff like that, become gated communities.
With a garden.
With a garden, with their own fruits and vegetables and their own cannabis, okay? Send it over to maybe the laboratory that I use and have it processed into a tincture that, like what I have, send it back to them, okay? It's going to cost for a little bit of the processing, but they'll capitalize, and not only that, the joy of growing your own medication and the time that it takes to grow it,
That has a healing benefit all
that has
itself.
so much of a healing benefit. It's
Right.
unreal.
Right.
First thing in the morning, I do 1 dropper full, and I want to do 10% CBD, 7% THC, and 2.5% antioxidant. And then around lunchtime, right before lunch, I'll do it again right before dinner.
Now, is that an indica or a sativa?
Well, when you make it into a CO2 wax, it loses the identity of indicas and
So
sativas.
the whole thing about an indica
Okay.
being a couch lock and a sativa being a creative, that doesn't apply to a
that-
CBD tincture?
CBDs are more of a sativa, okay?
So will the CBD give you that creative boost that can sometimes transfer into paranoia with certain people?
No.
So there's no paranoia involved?
Not this way, because you're doing a low dosage and you're building it up into your fatty tissue, and you're not taking the euphoric feeling, okay, when you smoke a joint.
Right, that's euphoria.
Yeah, it's euphoria, okay? That's the elevation of your high, and that's where people get the
Paranoia.
the paranoia, okay?
Too much happens too fast.
Right.
And their brain
Okay.
starts making up scenarios that
Right.
couldn't possibly happen.
Right. And then you got to remember, by doing it under the tongue, you're holding it 45 seconds under the tongue. It's going right into your bloodstream, and what it's doing is taking your own endorphins and all that, and
Right.
making everything work for you, your own body. Well, see, by breaking it down to 4 molecules, okay, if you have THC, THCA,
Right.
CBD, and CBDA, you've created a salad bar for people.
Okay.
Okay, so say that you say that I don't want the euphoria feeling. You want to stick with the A's. Okay.
Okay. The acids.
The acid of the plant,
Right.
which is the antioxidant, and it's a very safe protocol. Now there's some certain people that will need the euphoria feeling. Okay, because
Someone who's depressed.
well, actually somebody that has hypertension. Okay. These people that want to go out and do pillage and maim people, okay? Some of the people that came back from the war and stuff.
Stress disorders.
Stress disorder and stuff. With the THC and the CBD, they'll slow them down to a point where they can focus. Once you get using cannabis, it's in your system. And
You build up a tolerance.
It builds up the tolerance,
Right.
okay? And that's where the real benefits is, because it takes you 3 days to medicate to a point where you lose all your adverse side effects or everything that you're trying to address.
So do you think that
And once
maybe
you quit using it, it takes the same amount of time for them to start slowly coming back. Okay, if everybody in town's growing pot, there's more pot than we can ever use, then it's no big deal. And not only that,
it becomes worthless.
it becomes worthless. And not only that, you're taking the cartels. They depend on the pot
Being scarce.
being scarce, where they can add
Costs more.
big money.
Prohibition adds to the cost.
And then this is the difference between going to a collective and going to somebody on the street. When you go to somebody on the street, they have cocaine. They do those primos. They do the speed primos, because what they want, their main goal is to move
you
you
addicted.
higher to a different drug.
Right.
So they
Upsell you.
They use the marijuana. They give you a pre-roll. They give you cocaine in it, or they'll put
Whatever.
P2 in it or
Right.
something, and then all of a sudden, well, this stuff is great. So
Why should I go to the dispensary and get that regular
Right.
weed when I can get this?
Yeah, and now they got you on primos and stuff, and now they're going, hey man, do a line of this, do that.
And you're hooked.
And
And,
now
you're a
now-
lifelong customer.
Now you're a lifelong customer, and they took something simple
and ruined it.
and ruined it. Okay, and not only that, you have grandma and grandpa that has rheumatoid arthritis. You have these
They
kids.
can't buy from the guy down the street.
They don't want to go to a collective.
No, they don't want to go to the guy down the street that sells coke
Yeah,
because they don't know what
right.
they're getting.
I don't want to go there either, because now not only I'm sitting in front of somebody's house waiting for this guy to come back,
Wondering
with
if
my
the
money.
cops are going to show up.
Yeah, and I'm sitting there
Paranoid.
wondering if the cops are going to show up. I'm wondering if the guy's going to come back with my money. I'm wondering if it's got any chemicals in it that it's going to hurt me. And the main thing is, I just want to be safe.
Right. So growing
Okay.
it yourself is the best option.
growing it myself is a good option because it's affordable, okay? Going to a collective that I know is regulated, okay? And he's not part of the cartel, and he's got a business license, and
Paying taxes.
He's paying taxes, and not only that, I can go to them for the knowledge, because they're supposed to be able to tell me
And educate me.
and all that, you know, and you know, so you actually want to go to a collective that does have some sort of program that
Support
educates,
group,
support
not just a
service.
business, get in, get out.
Right. Well, you got to remember, there's a lot of people that are living in apartments that can't grow.
Okay.
Okay. And then you got a lot of people that are, you know,
They don't want to grow.
they don't want to grow, or they don't know how to grow, they can't grow, they're too sick to grow.
So we have to have dispensaries.
We have to have dispensaries, or we have to have patients that are working with patients like we do at our support group, okay, that will help them acquire the right kind of medication and
That's safe.
That's safe and help educate them.
Right.
You
So
know?
there's always going to be a need for one guy who's the guru with the garden,
Right.
Dr. Green Thumb.
I got 90 plants, okay? I have 8 people that are helping me, and I have anywhere from 10 plants all the way up to 50, 60 plants at 8 different other locations.
But you have to have the different strains, right?
Right. Well, you got to remember, we're addressing people at the collectives level too. Okay, and each one of these, and the growers, they have their friends and neighbors and stuff that are older, and they address that. So a lot of us are actually growing marijuana, selling it to the collectives to help other people that can't afford it. Okay, and you have people out there that are really compassionate, and they have programs out there to help people that can't afford it. You know. And that's where we need to really go, is to extinguish what the person's really there for, because Prop 215 is supposed to be an act of compassion.
Right.
Okay, and to help people. Okay, if somebody gets rich, it better be $1 a bottle. The money that I want to accumulate goes back to the people, because I want to start a seniors place where we have a mobile home park where we can grow the cannabinoids that helps other people.
Well, Colorado sells 35-acre parcels for pretty cheap. So.
And we want to do the seminars and stuff, outreach to the community churches and stuff, and that's where I really want to see my tinctures go, into the community churches, you know, and have a support service
to help sick people.
To help sick people and overcome the stigma of them using the pot.
Can they get off alcohol with this tincture?
I believe so.
Can they get off other hard drugs with this tincture?
I have. You got to remember, where was my addiction? Where was my trigger point? The pharmaceutical pills. When they filled me full of morphine. Okay.
It was all downhill from there.
I got my job. I was driving a truck in Colorado. Okay. Guy breaks my jaw, right? I go in the hospital. They fill me full of morphine. They put a PICC line in me. Okay. This is how I got it. Okay. They put a PICC line in, and they send me home with morphine and a rig where I could put it in the PICC line. There's a guy on the bus says, "Hey man, I traded you some meth for that." I wasn't even out of Utah, okay? And the guy traded me some morphine for some meth, and I put it in there. And guess what? 4 months later, they're telling me I'm an HIV patient. I never shared a needle in my life, and I've never really had that type of sex, okay?
Right.
And you tell me, how did I get it? I wasn't thinking. Okay, I was on a prescription. I was very cloudy. I had my mouth wired shut. Okay, I was fighting my drug addiction. When I was in the hospital in 1970, they would give me morphine, and then they'd give me Demerol, and Demerol's a stimulant. So, you know, morphine and speed.
Up and down.
Morphine and speed, and that's where my mentality was.
Wow.
Okay.
Confusion.
Yeah. I took my AIDS status, and I'm helping other people. So I took a negative into a positive, and that's got to be the greatest healing thing.
Lemons versus lemonade, baby.
You got it.
Yeah.
Well.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent. Great information.